Welcome back, dear listeners, to the Ed End Special, the series where we cover one-offs and other independent horror movies not necessarily connected to a franchise.
I'm Jumpscare Jer and/or Geraldine, the Fright of the podcast.
And I'm Frankie, the Flight of the podcast. Everybody, it's 2024. We just got finished with our first season. Thank you guys for tuning along. We did all the Stephen King movies. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun doing them. How about you, Geraldine?
I also had a lot of fun doing them.
What was your favorite moment from the Stephen King season?
I'm foreseeing my favorite moment. It is going to be anything talking about The Shining, because The Shining is a good one. I was dressed up for that episode, so you should just go watch it.
Yeah, go back and watch it.
Or listen to it. One of the two.
So if you guys are watching this, we just did a Stephen King season. So if you guys want to check that out, go do that.
Part one of many, because there's a lot to
Yeah,
cover
we're going to be
for
doing
him.
more Stephen King movies. This is just the first 5 we're doing. And we're actually lying to you. This whole thing is a lie. We're recording this before the Stephen King season, but it's coming out after it.
It's the first time we've been together to record in 2024.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Geraldine. She's changed a lot, if I'm being honest. Where she used to be friendly and kind, I found a lot more sassiness from her. I don't know why.
I have a lot to be sassy about.
Yeah, she really does.
As a woman.
Well, today we're covering 2024's Night Pool, an American supernatural horror film directed and written by Bryce McGuire.
Did you just say night pool?
Night Pool.
It's night swim.
Night Swim. Same thing. The scariest movie I've seen in theaters this year.
Well, it is also the first movie that was released in 2024. It's the first horror movie we've gotten this year.
And you were telling me you have some complaints about that.
Yeah, I do have some complaints about it. Not so much that it was the first movie of the year. However, I just wish they would have released it a little closer to summertime, because this movie gave me summertime vibes.
I agree, but I am glad there's a movie to come out in January. You know, like a horror movie coming out in January, because I feel like now is like the dry spell kind of time for horror movies.
Typically, because also we just got done with all of the strikes last year.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wasn't really sure what we were going to be getting.
I remember me and you were out there picketing on Sunset Boulevard because you and I are both members of the Actors Guild.
One day.
This movie features a pool, of course.
Sure does.
That's hence the title, of course. And I don't know if anybody knows, but I, a grown-ass man, don't know how to swim. So this movie really hit a sore spot. It was really close to home. I actually have a similar experience to the events of this movie.
Really?
Yes, I do. And I'll be sure to talk about it later in the podcast.
Okay.
But this, like I said, this movie hits close to home. I really resonated with a lot of the plight of some of the characters in this film.
Very interesting. Is there should we do a spoiler-free kind of run-through, or are we just going to follow?
This is all spoilers, baby.
All spoilers.
Yeah.
Because at this point, people should have already seen it, because when we released this, it should have already been seen.
Yeah, I don't know where you guys can stream it, but you can stream it somewhere, I'm sure.
Rent it. Do the things. You can find it and rent it before the summertime, because
We believe in you.
I do believe in you.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know how to swim, Geraldine?
So, yes and no. You said that I sound like I don't know how to swim because I said that I don't know how to tread water.
That means you don't know how to swim.
That is not true.
That's the most important part,
no,
isn't it?
No, it's not. Not always, because I can do all of I literally went to the YMCA and took swim lessons as a child.
Yes.
I can do all of the paddling stuff. I can literally go under the
What
water.
if your arms
I can
get
dive.
tired?
Huh?
What if your arms get tired?
I don't plan on swimming in a big ass body of water. Have you met? I have thalassophobia. I'm not trying to go.
I don't even know what that means.
It means look at your screen right next to you.
Yeah.
This water, I'm terrified of what lies beneath, and this movie really played on that fear for me. So I was like, yee! I was on my edge of the seat the whole time.
Do you remember how you were taught to swim?
I do remember when
Do you take swimming lessons?
I did take swimming lessons.
Okay.
So they would throw little things around the pool, little kid toys, and we would just go and try to collect them and bring them back. And I had goggles and stuff like that.
Well, I never learned how to swim, and there's all these stories about how they just threw me into a pool and all I could do was swim or drown. And so I just had to do it, you know what I mean? I have and same. I went through the same thing, except I was the one, I did the drowning one, not the swimming one.
I'm so
Twice.
sorry.
You know what I mean?
So your family just threw you in the pool and they're like, sink or swim, baby.
Yeah, and I sank.
That's so scary. I could never, because now knowing that I have anxiety regarding that. If anyone did that to my niece, which she's a little water baby, she loves swimming, I think
cool.
she has like little like arm floaties every time she goes to the pool or anything like that. But I would be a nervous wreck if somebody tried to do that to her because, one, that's traumatizing, especially against your will. If they're like, hey, and just...
I know, right?
What are you supposed to do?
Well, everybody's like, oh, yeah. And then suddenly I magically gain the ability to swim. And I'm like, that's BS. You know what I'm saying? Like, what about me then? How come
this
it
really
didn't happen to me?
plays on the trauma responses, and hence you being the flight. That makes sense.
Is drowning a flight response?
It is. I feel like drowning, you would probably traumatize in that moment. So you probably were like, I'm just going to...
It's hard. It's hard to swim.
It's not easy. Yeah.
No,
and
it's not.
it takes a lot of
I just
energy
feel like,
out of you.
I'm not flexible to begin with. And I feel like it's a lot of motor skills.
It is.
Like, you're moving all your limbs in different directions.
Especially if you're trying to keep your head above water. Like,
Yeah.
oh. I also have this really weird thing. I noticed, like, when I watch movies that have people that swim,
Do you hold your breath?
I do that, and I also am like keeping my head above this imaginary water with them. Like I feel like I'm in the water with them, and it stresses me out.
You get fully immersed.
I do.
Yeah.
I get that from my mom. She does that too.
Me and Bailey watched a movie at a pool once. There was like an
fun.
event the community was having, and they were showing
It was Aquaman.
Aquaman, and everybody was in the pool while they were watching it. That's pretty cool.
That actually sounds fun.
I
I thought you were
There
going
were
to say
so
Aquamarine
many children there.
for a moment there, because I thought you were going to say Aquamarine.
That's a
and
dolphin movie, right?
That's a
Narc,
Aquamarine is a mermaid
player.
movie.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
it's one of the
true.
best mermaid movies ever. It's terrible, and I love it. And it's like it was my whole childhood. Like literally, once I watched that movie, changed my life. And I was pretending to be a mermaid forever in the pool, always.
Do you give like siren vibes for sure?
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
I
I'll
thought
take
you're
it.
gonna take offense to that.
No,
but
that's cool. That's cool. That means I can lure men and kill them.
like a succubus.
Yeah,
See, you like that too.
that's cool.
Okay. My attempts for futile.
You're traveling on a very thin line, Frankie. Just stop while you're ahead, okay?
I really enjoyed how practical this film was. The movie is so low budget, and like I'm just so much of the movie, like the way they relayed tension and suspense was through like just the actors pretending to be pulled on this way and that, or the cinematography panning or cutting right at like a very like specific moment. And I think that's so cool because it makes me think like, oh, anybody could go out to their pool and like shoot like this like very tense feeling thing without a bunch of money.
Yeah, it was a really like. First of all, water is very beautiful. It's a very beautiful thing, especially swimming pool water, like when it's clean looking and whatnot. It's a very beautiful, like clear blue kind of thing. So it's really cool to experience that. And then swimming at night is also a beautiful scene. Like a lot of people like to swim at night because it just literally does something different to you.
I feel like I'd be scared.
Oh, it's relaxing.
And I do think this
now
movie,
I will be scared.
I think this movie really plays on your like preconceived notions of like your fears and anxieties
Well,
about like being in a
especially-
pool.
I don't know about you, but as a child, I don't know why. First of all, two things. I was afraid that there would be sharks in the swimming pool. How dumb was I to think that? But I was always afraid of that happening and being real. And then second, I was always afraid of the drain because I heard horror stories about people being sucked in. And I was like, no. So I would always, if I was anywhere close to that drain, you bet your ass I was swimming
That's
away from
scary.
it.
I had a very similar concern when I was growing up about the toilet. That like a snake or something was
Yes,
going to
okay,
come from
yes.
underneath the toilet and get you.
I've heard horror
Yeah, I'd be
stories of that
scared
too,
of that.
and I would always be like,
It's funny you mentioned the shark thing. The director, Bryce McGuire, that's where he got the idea from. Being a kid and experiencing those things and being scared there's a shark in the pool when obviously
Yeah.
there can't be.
There can't be. And I love that because, like, as a child, that is, like, in the back of your mind, you realize how silly that idea is, but
Still scary.
it's still scary. And especially to see it on the big screen, like, to see those childhood fears being played out, I like it. I thought it was pretty original because we haven't seen a lot of that. I mean, we do have shark movies, but we don't have movies about pools.
Yeah, I agree. This movie was on a budget of $15 million, and at the recording of this episode, it's made $36 million. So it's more than doubled its budget at the box office.
That's amazing,
So
especially for a small movie.
yeah, so a relative success. It is a Blumhouse film. This film's origins actually go back to 2014, very similar to Saw, where this was actually done as a little short, or similar to Thanksgiving too.
Yeah.
Back all the way back in 2014, and after going viral, McGuire was asked to present it to James Wan, and James Wan saw it, loved it, and then now we have this movie that was written and directed by the same person, Bryce McGuire.
Which is super cool because I'm pretty sure that James Wan was on set, guiding and helping and stuff, which is really cool. Again,
definitely.
He wanted to lend a helping hand to smaller artists. The next generation is what he calls it of artists, which I love.
So what did you think about the movie? Did you enjoy the film? Did you dislike it?
So generally, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was fun. It was refreshing. You don't see a lot of movies like this. I wasn't super wowed by it, especially because I wanted to see more of what lies beneath, and I don't think we got enough of that. Like, I wanted to see more of those creatures that were lurking, that kept, like, pulling people or anything, and you don't get to see it. And the twist at the end is cool. I wasn't expecting that. It was pretty fucked up, I'm not gonna lie. So, I mean, overall, I was pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't say that I was disappointed or anything. I wasn't really let down by this because I had no preconceived notions going in because we barely got to see anything in the trailers.
I had very low expectations. Actually, from the first trailer, the sneak preview thing, it was just a scene with Izzy in the pool.
Yeah.
And I thought, what is going on here? This thing looks so dumb to me. We're going to have a horror movie where a pool is the bad guy? It didn't make any sense to me. So my bar was like on the floor.
Have you guys seen, this might be tangential, forgive me, but a long time ago, like probably like 7 or 8 years ago, there was a clip that was animated that was going around, and it was a couple in a pool, and it was an indoor pool. That was the only difference, really. But it was an indoor pool, and there was suddenly a giant, weird tentacle monster.
Yeah, it was like an anime music video.
Yeah. That's what the original trailers reminded me of, except worse.
No, I did not see that.
I think that's completely... I understand it reminded you of it, but like nothing alike. This is just somebody in their pool for the trailer. Just like roaming around the pool.
Well, she was playing Marco Polo with this guy that she was interested
So
in.
who plays Marco Polo? I don't even know how to play Marco Polo.
People who know how to swim play Marco Polo.
True.
I don't get it.
You just close your eyes, and you don't even have to play it in the pool. That's typically where you play it, though. And you just, one person closes their eyes, and the other person is like trying to like be quiet and sneaky, and they have to catch you. The person saying Marco, and the callback is Polo, and then you try to make them, they're like here and like looking this way, and maybe you're here. You try to like get around them as quick as you can, say Polo, and then go back the way you were, or like distract them so that they don't think that you're there instead. So, I mean, it's a fun thing.
Did you play it?
I've played it before. I've also played what they do play in the movie, the chicken thing. That's what they call it. I don't know why it's called chicken. If you're on someone's shoulders and you do like the
Was somebody on your
or whatever.
shoulders?
I've played both ways, where I've been on someone's shoulders or vice versa. I've had someone on my shoulders. I will say, when I was younger, my friends would be really good about like lifting my hair up whenever I would get up, because sometimes if you get under the water, if you have longer hair and then it gets in your face, hard to see. Especially me, I wear glasses, so I'm like, I can't see very well anyway. But like I like to rub my eyes whenever I have water in my eyes. It's just natural instinct. So my hair was in my eyes, and I had someone on my shoulders, and something happened, and I like kind of like let go, and then I kind of pushed them off me because I was like, I can't see, can't do anything. And I didn't know, because they were really quiet. I threw them out of the freaking pool.
That's fun.
As an adult, looking back on it, it was very funny. In the moment, I can't help it but laugh in times like that. So I started laughing because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But it really just tickled me. I don't know why, because I'm horrible, I guess. And
You are. I know from experience.
But I felt so bad because I was like, where'd she go? I can't find her. And then I go and look over the pool, and she's just laying out there like...
Good job.
And I was like, oh my
And you
God,
said you laughed in the moment?
Yes, because I was so shocked. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't know
You're
they did
so
that.
mean.
So yeah, I don't know, like some of the fun pool games, I guess, but creepy, just pools at night and getting creepy, especially if they get gross and not treated. Creepy.
I quite like the film as well. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much. I kind of have a different opinion than you as far as like the monsters. I think for me, a lot of what made the movie so suspenseful and have so much tension was that we didn't get to see like an actual entity or monster. And I also think it added a lot to the intrigue for most of the film of that wonder of like, what is it? What is going on here? Is the pool haunted? Is there like a supernatural being somewhere along in it? Is there a physical manifestation of it? And so for me, I actually wasn't. I didn't have a problem with the lack of, seeing all these people. And then when they actually did come on screen, I was mortified.
You were
they were
freaking out in the theater.
The only one that I will say was not very scary was the first one that we get to see. I was like, what the fuck is that?
No, that scared me.
What the fuck is that? The creepier one had like the almost skull kind of teeth and everything. Looked kind of zombified. That one was really cool to me.
I was covering my eyes through a lot of the movie and jumping.
Oh man, if I had been there.
It got me a lot of times, I gotta say.
It was funny. He was kicking his feet and like jumping.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the scariest movies we've covered so far. Yeah, it really got me. Yeah. A lot of jump scares in this. They all got me, every single one of them.
What's funny to me is okay, so we originally go see these new releases together. At the time, he was sick. Or I think were both of you sick, or was it just you?
I forget.
But so we ended up not seeing this together, and I hate that because I love seeing moments like that, especially for people who don't typically watch horror movies.
I was very scared. Last time, I was way more worried and freaked out about watching Evil Dead Rise last year. This one, I was even more.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's shocking.
So let's take a deep dive into the plot so you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
In this movie, in 1992, a young girl goes out to her family pool one night to retrieve a toy boat belonging to her terminally ill brother. While trying to get the boat, something in the pool pulls her underwater. I really enjoyed this opening.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, oh my gosh, they really threw you right in. And
they really did.
This movie has a lot of moments where you're like, oh no. Like where pretty much what's going to happen.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But I mean, at least the tropes are familiar enough that you're like, oh no, we know it's gonna happen. Please no, God no. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reaction.
Yeah, and like I said, it's so suspenseful. Now, in the present day, the Waller family, Ray, Eve, and children Izzy and Elliot, are seeking a new permanent residence after Ray has been forced to retire from his baseball career due to illness. They purchased the former residence of the Fuller family. Ray scratches his hand while working to clear out the pool in the backyard when the pool maintenance comes to inspect it. They reveal the pool is essentially self-sustaining, taking its water from an underground spring in the area. The pool maintenance guy, hilarious.
Such a small character, big impact.
I wish he was in the movie more.
Maybe if it is so successful, they'll create
doing good.
They'll create a franchise, and it's just him, going to different pools that are haunted or something.
Well, Bryce McGuire said in an interview, if the movie does well, his intention is to build a franchise.
The next movie should be called Skinny Dipping.
Oh, that's good.
That would be funny.
That's really good. He had mentioned too in the interview that at some point in the movie you see that several families have lived here.
Yeah.
And that maybe it's about a different one of the families.
We'll get to see more of the history. That'd be very cool.
Yeah. As he spends more time in the pool as part of his therapy, Ray's illness seems to go into remission. However, Eve becomes concerned at the changes she sees in her husband. Izzy and Elliot each get attacked by something in the pool, and the family cat goes missing.
That was big sad. I was very upset.
I can't believe they killed the cat.
Yeah, big
that makes me
warning
so mad.
Is that the animal dies?
You guys think the cat died?
Yes, we know it died, dog.
Do we ever see it physically, be captured or anything?
No, but they use it to lure the kid.
Maybe the cat was never there.
No, we know that the cat died.
There.
Did the cat
They
have a
don't
name?
show it explicitly. His name was Cider.
Yes.
Cider?
Yeah.
Good name.
That's a cute name.
Could you give recipe Cider?
Rest in peace. He didn't deserve that. He didn't like the pool. He was angry.
During a pool party, their realtor tells Eve about the Fuller's daughter Rebecca drowning in the pool shortly before Ray seemingly forces a child underwater and almost drowns himself, although this is attributed to a side effect of his illness.
That was wild.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I had so much anxiety watching that.
That's what I mean. I feel like this movie is very anxiety-inducing.
Well, yeah, because anything can happen when you're in the water. I remember, my brother also had the same swimming lessons that I did. I talk about him so much on the podcast. I notice, when we go back and listen to the podcast or watch the podcast or anything I notice I talk about my brother so much. He's just a little pivotal.
It's because you love him so much.
It's because I do love him so much. That little shit. And so he had the same swimming lessons. But they thought he was so sweet, precious little baby. They held him the whole time. And he was not that little. He was old enough to definitely, like, there were smaller kids than him at the swimming lesson.
I'm misunderstanding. Why are you upset? You sound like you're upset about it.
Because he didn't learn how to swim, right?
Oh, okay.
So he didn't learn because they held him the whole time, which my family was very upset about that because they spent money for us both to go and learn how to swim. Like a cool, like, gift, to learn how to swim. And so I learned how to swim. He did not. So fast forward, a couple years later, we go to, like, a graduation for a family member.
Yeah.
My mom freaks out. So there's, like, an indoor pool at this hotel that we're staying at or whatever, and we couldn't find my brother. And there was, like, a lot of people. And that's the scary thing.
That does sound scary.
That's scary because, like, indoor pools, a lot of them have, like, a pretty deep end as well, especially if they have, like, a diving board or anything like that. And my brother, like, we couldn't see him, and he was really little. Uh-huh. He was holding onto the side of the pool, like, going around like that. And my mom literally made everyone stop in their tracks and was like, stop moving, everyone. Basically, like,
good.
To find him. And she was like, dang it! Trying to find him. But, like, that scared all of us because we thought maybe, like, he's so little, how would we know where he was if he, like, drowned or something? Oh, my God. Terrifying. Like,
well,
my
good
mom,
for her to taking charge right then.
But, yeah, stuff like that. Like, swimming pools just remind me of things like that where, like, moments like that. Good times,
Yeah. Maybe that'll be you one day, and your little whippersnapper will be lost in the pool.
My little whippersnapper?
Yeah. Geraldine Jr.
No, not a Geraldine Jr. Hopefully not, because I was not the brightest.
No? Maybe you'll have your own little Dagon, Right
no! I'll be like, I'm just kidding.
What? I'll make sure to show that as footage to your future offspring. Now, tracking down the Fuller family after learning that there is a long history of disappearances in the house, Eve meets with Kay, Rebecca's mother. Kay explains that the water that now sustains the pool was once a part of a healing spring, but in order to use the water, someone else must be sacrificed to it. Kay was compelled to sacrifice Rebecca to the pool's entity to heal her son Tommy's illness. Eve is horrified to realize that Ray is now being healed by the pool, but it will take one of their children as a sacrifice.
That was a crazy twist that I did not see coming.
Such a crazy twist. I did not see that coming.
And I was like, also, how fucked up of a mom. Like, and instead, typically you see in parents, they don't want anything to happen to their children. But for you to be like, nah, take my fucking kid. I want the other kid to live. That's wild. Because I see a lot in movies or in modern media where it's like, the parents will be like, take me instead. Don't take my children. Take me. They'll throw themselves instead. They'll sacrifice themselves for their children. Mm-hmm. But no, she said, fuck that little girl, Rebecca. I don't even like her. I want Tommy to live.
I wonder if there's any, like, gender roles that take place in that, where it's like the son versus the daughter.
I don't know, but it was very interesting, and I was very flabbergasted when I figured out what was happening. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. And the whole
tea,
Yeah, the tears, the fountain inside the house was really creepy.
That was creepy. That was very creepy. Like, she was still, like, being fed by it felt like.
I gotta say, Eve was so good in the movie.
Oh my God,
we love Eve.
Yeah,
she
Carrie
had one
Condon.
creepy interaction with the pool, and she never got in that thing again.
Smart.
right.
She
Smart
avoided
woman.
it.
I will say this movie also taught me a lot through Eve and Izzy too. There's a lot of, like, overhead shots of the pool, and you can kind of see how they move their arms and legs while they're swimming.
Yeah.
So I feel like I learned a little bit on how to swim, how to move your body.
Well, I know that when you're underwater, there's, like, a movement. I think I forget what it's called. It's something like the frog.
I didn't know that your legs were supposed to, like, move kind of rotationally.
Yeah.
Because I always saw, when people explain it to me, they always make it sound like your legs should be moving like this.
Well, that's
but it's
one.
more
You
like
can
this.
do that, but
You
yeah.
can do that.
But yeah, if you go around in a circle, it's more efficient.
Or, like, if you're deep under the water, what you want to do is you want to do, like, the full, like, spreading your arms out like that. Kind of like I think it's the frog. I think that's what it's called.
Or
like,
the
that is,
butterfly?
like, no, not the butterfly. It's like the frog because, like, your legs are going, like, up
The
like
fruit.
that. Like, your legs are going, like... So it literally looks like a frog.
Can you pretend like you're swimming right now? Nice,
Like
okay.
that. But, I mean, it looks better when I'm in the water, I promise. I have a groove to it.
Are you a natural swimmer?
I do pretty well.
You know how, like, you watch
promise.
Baywatch and all the dudes and girls look so hot, like, coming out of the pool?
I've seen memes about it, where, like, some girls, like, throw themselves up like Ariel to get out of the pool, and I'm the one that's, like, got the leg up. I'm like, I have to, like, roll out of the pool.
Why are you so heavy when you leave the water?
I don't understand it.
It's like I'm lifting up weights while I'm trudging out of there.
You know what sucks is like the way they design women's bathing suits now. They're like basically bras, so they're padded. So then when you get out of the pool, you can literally like squeeze and like juice your like swimming top. And I'm like, please.
I didn't know that. No.
Yes, they have so much padding in them now, and it's not like the way that they used to be, where like they had like there's a benefit to both, I guess, but like the old ones had like the individual padding, like you had to like stick it in there and like make sure it like lined up. The new one is already there for you. You don't have to do the work, but then you have to like squeeze all the water out.
Nice.
Otherwise, you're gonna be like dripping water everywhere.
Yeah. That's so fun.
It's trouble. Like, there's nothing good about women's clothing ever. I'm always gonna complain about it.
Well, I really enjoyed Eve in the film. I thought she was great. I thought the performances by a lot of the actors
We're great.
were really good.
Yeah, Eve specifically. I listened to an interview with her. She's got a really thick Irish accent.
Yeah, she was in the Banshees of Inisherin last year.
I never watched that one, but I've heard really good things about it. And
Yeah, I heard her performance was great in that too.
she just, I don't know, something about her. She just be doing good. Like she just knows what
she's great.
doing. I love Ray as well because he is what the hell is his name? His last name's Russell.
Yeah, Wyatt Russell. Wyatt.
Yes, Wyatt. His father is Kurt Russell.
What?
Yes, you didn't know that? You did not put two and two together?
No.
Literally, they look
That's so
so much.
crazy.
He looks so much like his father. So much like his father.
I thought his role in the movie, he plays Ray, and I thought he did a great job as well. I think the cast in general I thought was fantastic, and he reminded me a lot of like Adam Scott and how Adam Scott gives performances. To me, it felt like they wanted him, but needed somebody a little more believably athletic, and Wyatt Russell fits that role, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, Eve returns to the house to find that Ray is being directly controlled by the entity, which traps Elliot in the pool and attempts to kill Izzy. Eve tries to save her son while Izzy confronts the entity possessing her father, eventually assaulting him with a baseball bat. Eve manages to retrieve an unconscious Elliot and is guided to the surface of the pool by Rebecca's spirit. Once back in the yard, Izzy's assault and Elliot's condition help Ray regain control of himself. To stop the entity attacking his children, Ray sacrifices himself to it.
Okay, before you guys get too far into this, I just wanted to say the scene where Rebecca helps Eve with the quarter underwater was sick. I really liked it.
I thought it was really cool too. I think this movie had a great use of CG, like in an atmosphere and an environment where like CG is used in like every big major motion picture and all the Marvel movies and just in all the blockbusters. It's heavily relied on. In this movie, I think it's used to a great effect. It's used in a creative way. It's used in an artistic way. And I thought it was great too. I agree. Like it was really neat to see that payoff of like the coins the whole movie, and then in this like final scene towards the end, she shows which way it's actually pointing, so she can coordinate herself to where she is, reorientate herself, I suppose.
I thought that was really cool too, especially since it's supposed to resemble a big wishing well, essentially, but with lives. Fucking creepy.
Yeah, it's a good concept. I think it's an interesting concept.
It is cool. Is it the most original? It's not the most original, but it's still really cool. I haven't seen a lot of it, so I would say that this is the first in the horror movie aspect, especially with a pool. Very well done, I thought. I like the parent, that whole storyline of the parent stepping in to sacrifice. Because again, that's common for a parent to be like, take me instead of my children.
The few things I have about the ending are, one, I think Ray's hilarious once he's possessed in the house.
Yeah.
He's just so funny.
Marco.
Yeah, you're supposed to say Polo. Like, that's so funny.
Is he okay?
Why would the entity have like that kind of response, like these comedic moments and flair?
I kind of like it. It's different.
I loved it too. I thought it was really funny. I know some people really didn't like that about it.
There's a lot of complaints. So a lot of people are not happy about it. And
yeah, this movie has been received very negatively.
But I really think that people are just being too harsh about it. I think that it was refreshing. It's something new we haven't seen. And I think that's why people complain about it, is because it's from Blumhouse Studios or whatever. And people, I guess their perception is that they just keep putting out movies regardless of what it is.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that like they don't respect Blumhouse as much or hold it into as much of a high regard, because where they found the movies originally very, very, great films, that they have been focusing quantity over quality lately.
I disagree though, because I think that this is a new like director and writer. So I think it's a new story, new person, and maybe he has other great ideas that we don't even know about. And this would give them the opportunity to utilize their talents, and they have a good studio backing them. Megan turned out fantastic. I fucking loved that movie, and I'm very excited to see what they turn it into.
The other point I had to make about the ending was just that the movie, I think it would have done really well if it ended closer to where the dad spits up the spirit or whatever that was controlling him. Mm-hmm. But instead they make it to where he sacrifices himself in the end. And something that I do love about this movie in particular, compared to a lot of the horror movies that we've seen, is that it's so based around the characters and their emotions, and each of them have motives. The girl just started school and meets this boy. The wife is just an interesting character. She takes care of her family so well. Her husband with this illness, and then her family and looking after them. Mm-hmm. The story she tells her son about like how she used to give a signal to her other daughter, her other child, to help her in school. And the dad, who's is reluctantly turning into like this more household figure instead of like the supporter, the provider that he was when he was a baseball player. And so I just think that's so fascinating. And Elliot too, a kid that struggles, who isn't very popular at school, has a hard time talking to people. I just didn't feel like Ray sacrificed. I was saying, I really appreciate how much the movie was based around the characters and so intimately based around them and their arcs. But I don't think the sacrifice at the end of the movie was earned. Like, I feel like they were really trying to sell it with the music and just like him looking back dramatically and then, going into the abyss, sacrificing himself. But it didn't really land for me. And neither did the family's reactions. Yeah. They kind of just stared at him as he went away. Yeah.
I said this when we finished watching the movie. And I know Frankie doesn't really agree with me, but I thought it would have felt more of satisfying in a way if instead the dad stayed possessed the entire time and was just an asshole, and that they forcibly sacrificed him. And I know that that's like not
it's
great.
like a group, like a family thing.
At least
fuck
with
this
that,
guy, throw him into the water.
At least he would be sad at the end of the movie that they lost their dad or something, and you get some emotion from it.
Yeah, so I think that's what they were trying to do, was to get like a really nice, like heartfelt, emotional ending. It just landed just a little bit flat.
Yeah, it was a little flat. I agree.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
But that was my biggest gripe about the film, is just the ending. Like the end, I feel like up to the ending, I feel like the movie was punching above its weight class. Mm-hmm. And then until the very end, I feel it kind of fizzled out. Yeah,
that's my problem with any movies or TV shows, anything nowadays. It feels like everything has like a really, really strong beginning and middle, but then the endings is where everyone fails.
Yeah, I get it. It's hard to get right, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure there's also, in keeping in mind, like, this is a new movie from a new director, new writer. Like, this is probably something that he wanted to maybe try to keep a little bit open-ended, just in case there was an ability to franchise it out. But
I do wonder, because like I said, this movie did great at the box office. I think performing better than Thanksgiving did.
I really think that also it benefited them that in the trailer that we got, it was just a teaser. It wasn't like a real trailer. Yeah. You don't know. So it really enticed people to be like, what's this about? Let's go see it.
So it made money, but like I said, the reviews and the reaction has not been positive. It's been very negative.
Which is unfortunate, because I thought it was fine. I liked it. I think, was it amazing? No. Was it bad? Hell no. It was a great movie.
It exceeded my expectations.
Same.
From the trailer. Yeah.
I think so too. I was pretty pleased with it, and the performances were great by the kids, by the adults. Loved it. Everything felt natural. They really felt like a family. I will say though, I feel like Wyatt Russell looked really young to be a father of like a teenager and a kid that age. That's the only other complaint that I guess I had. That, yeah. He just looks really young. I want to say the mom looked the appropriate age. Mm-hmm. What was her name? Eve? Yes. Yeah, Eve looked the appropriate age, but Ray's character, I don't know. Maybe it's the blonde hair that made him appear more youthful, I guess. I'm not sure what it was, but it didn't really land to me that he was a father, nor was he a doting or involved father.
I guess I could see what you mean, yeah.
So there was like a disconnect there.
He kind of felt like an older brother or like an uncle kind of thing.
Or like a stepdad. Like a younger stepdad. Not really not like a dad. I don't know, but like they didn't really...
More of a daddy.
There wasn't a lot of development there, though. I didn't really feel connected to his character as much. That's why I didn't really care when he went.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't as evocative as I'd like. But up until the point, I enjoyed the rest of the film. Now, as far as the negative criticisms is concerned, I will play a short clip of a very popular horror movie YouTube reviewer.
Oh, okay.
And just just so they can express some of their gripes of the film.
Okay.
The trailer implied something completely different than what the movie ended up being. Just in general, I think this movie was way too complicated for its concept. The concept is a haunted swimming pool. Like, it doesn't need to be like this whole, like, well, this baseball player, he has MS and he needs like water therapy. So they move into this house where the pool is haunted. And then there's this huge backstory. I'm not going to tell you because you can watch the movie yourself if you want. Huge backstory as to why the water is haunted, right? And then there's like research scenes of them trying to figure out the history of this pool, and it's like, it does not need to be that deep. We don't need to introduce all these side characters at all. Don't need them. Focus on your main 4 people. Overall, I felt like this movie was completely rushed. It didn't feel fleshed out. Like, the writing wasn't fleshed out. It wasn't a great story, and the execution obviously wasn't great. And I feel like a lot of takes were like single takes. It just felt like a rushed cash grab movie, because they know they'll make a profit. I think at this point Blumhouse knows he'll make a profit on his movies regardless because of his history. So I feel like the effort is dying down, and it's very evident in this movie. It did not feel fully, like, he didn't put all of his effort into this movie. There's no way. And granted, it's not completely Jason Blum's fault by any means. There's a lot of people that worked on this movie, and the effort just wasn't there, which is really disappointing because it makes me feel like, as a horror fan, we're just being taken advantage of with our money. Like, they know we're gonna go see these movies, so it doesn't have to be that good because we'll take what we can get, first and foremost, being horror fans. But I feel like the genre has expanded so much, and more horror fans are coming to light here because horror is becoming a wider genre, and maybe the horror directors and writers feel like they don't have to try as hard anymore to get fans and to get people talking about them, because a lot of people watch horror nowadays. I don't know. I'm not trying to be dramatic about it. It's not their fault. It's just where we are in the horror movie genre and process and everything. And last year was kind of evident of that as well. And I'm frustrated because we, although before it was slim pickings in the theater of how many horror movies we got, now we have a bunch, but it's like slim pickings as to what's actually good. I don't know if it's just me either. Like, it could just be being a negative Nancy. I don't know. You tell me how you feel about these kind of movies that feel like cash grabs and they just want your money.
So that was a short excerpt from Possessed by Horror's review of the film on YouTube. And like I said, they're a big YouTuber that reviews horror films, and a lot of the people who commented on her video said very similar things. People saying that they fell asleep during the film, people thinking that the movie was overall funny unintentionally, and just that, like I said, a lot of even the critics weren't a big fan of this movie. If you go look on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 22% on the movie, with an average rating of 4.3 out of 10. Metacritic rated it 43 out of 100. CinemaScore gave the film a C. And yeah, the movie has generally negative reviews. So what do you think about that, Geraldine?
Okay, well, first of all, I think this Possessed by Horror, it ain't that deep, girl. I think that she was being way too harsh on it. Again, I think these people are being too harsh on this movie.
Well, to be fair, it's her opinion.
It's her opinion.
And
opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them, but that doesn't mean yours is above everyone else's. I'm sorry. Not really, but I mean, I think that to think that you're being taken advantage of as a horror fan, first of all, shut up. There's horror all over the place. You're not being taken advantage of. There's low budget, high budget, no matter what you call it. You can watch it anywhere. You're not being taken advantage of. You choose to go see that. You consent to see that.
Do you think this movie was like a cash grab or anything?
If it was, good for them. They made their fucking dollar, Like, complain to them about it. Don't complain. I mean, I don't know. It's just annoying to me because it doesn't all have to be, wow, oh, this is superb writing, and nothing has to be so perfect all the time. First of all, this is the guy's first fucking movie with this company. it might not be perfect. No one's first anything is going to be perfect. So I think they're being too harsh on him. They're being too harsh on Blumhouse. They're being too harsh on Jason Blum as a whole. I think that it was not that fucking bad. And people just need to chill out. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it again. I thought it was refreshing. I thought it was fun. Definitely something I'd like to watch around the summertime. I wish it had a more close to summertime release. Not my choice there. But again, I'm glad that we started 2024 off with Night Swim because I thought it was a good concept. I thought the story wasn't that bad. And if you're looking for perfect, you write a fucking horror movie or horror story. I'm sorry. Like I'm tired of people being assholes about it. You're entitled to that opinion, but do it yourself then. If you're so adamant about writing the perfect movie or having the perfect story, there are plenty of good movies. There are plenty of bad movies. There's always a bad movie that everyone will fight to the death for, or there's always a good movie that people will swear up and down that it's the worst movie ever. So pick your poison, babe. Don't know what to tell you.
What do you think, Bailey?
You know, it confuses me a little when somebody is a horror movie lover and then they turn around and they say, well, this horror movie wasn't good enough, it's just a cash grab. Like that's all of them also. Like that's kind of the point of the entire franchise. Like they're working for a niche. Of course it's a cash grab. You're in the movie film business. But also like I watched this movie and I was like, oh, okay, this is a very run-of-the-mill horror film. Like it just is. There's nothing particularly bad about it. There's nothing particularly like amazing and thought-provoking. If you only want thought-provoking films, then, you know, that's your bread and butter and that's fine. You're not going to find that all the time in the horror movie franchises.
I agree.
You're not going to. It's supposed to be campy. It's supposed to be a little bit silly. You know, if you want every movie to be The Exorcist or The Shining, you know, that's like a 1 in a million movie.
And you know what? Both of those movies were based on fucking books. Write your own book and turn it into a horror movie, bitch. I'm sorry. I can't stand it. Drives me nuts because, again, like you said, not all of them are going to be thought-provoking. This was just not every trope is going to be original. There are so many tropes that have been invented that people continuously utilize because that is a formula that works for them. There's not a lot of original stories either because, again, we have been utilizing a lot of the same tropes, the same storylines, recycling them for years. Do you complain about the music you listen to? Because I promise you, they're all the same fucking chords, different artists. Yeah. Chill out.
She made it sound like she doesn't feel like Blumhouse and other people that worked on this film didn't put the effort in. Like they didn't, which is a little disheartening for me because I feel like when I look at the director and I hear Bryce McGuire talk about the movie he made and how proud he is and how like it came from like his childhood fear and he manifested that into this film, it's hard for me to listen to somebody else say that he didn't try.
There was no effort put in. Have you watched the behind the scenes? They literally had cameras in the fucking water. Do you know how hard that is to shoot in water, first of all?
The actors had to stay in the water for hours, days.
Like, I just don't appreciate the negative like responses, and people are entitled to that. If they really hold Blumhouse to a higher standard, that's fine. But again, new artist, this is his first like debut feature film. Give him some fucking credit. It was a good first film.
I personally don't see how offended how this movie made people feel so offended.
I don't either.
I think even I would understand. Mad. I would understand maybe a little more if it was like just a horrible film, but I just did not feel that way.
I think it's just a thing to sensationalize opinions right now.
Yes,
it just is. People want to get likes and views and things, which is ironic considering that they're complaining about people wanting to make money, but
it's
also
a cash grab. What are you doing?
Yeah, and then you're doing a light grab. I'm not saying this person is in particular.
Right.
I'm just saying
I will say this person possessed by horror. They like we didn't show them say this, but they did mention how like other people will probably like this movie, that it just wasn't for her.
Yeah, and that's totally valid.
But they need to say that up front. Like, hey guys, this is my review. You don't have to agree with it. It's my opinion. And I'm sure she probably said that somewhere. Great, awesome. But I think that people are also being assholes about this movie for no damn reason, just to be angry.
I think we need to normalize content just being okay.
Yeah,
we're in again, I keep talking about the time period that we're in right now, sensationalizing everything. I apologize. This is my most boomer quality, but like, it's just, it feels like people our age love to get on the internet and complain about something not meeting their perfect standards and how that makes it automatically morally bad somehow.
You know what
and
it is?
it's like, you know, things can just be okay. Not everything is going to be a Shakespeare, an Edgar Allan Poe, you know, a Telltale Heart, you know, kind of a level of depth.
And that's not to say that he won't get better the more he makes movies. Maybe like this is his first movie and it's not amazing quality, but he did what he could with what he had, you know.
Yeah,
and
I think he did great.
I think he did great too. It's not an amazing movie, but again, it met my standards. It was fun. I enjoyed it overall. Do I wish I saw more of some of those creatures? Yes, but again, I understand your point of view there. It kind of alludes to like this creepy, like mysterious aspect.
Yeah.
But again, like, to go off what you were saying is that people just feel entitled to receive quality content. But if you are going to judge the content with that high standard, you need to be behind the scenes also helping make something that you think is, because it's a hard job, first of all. And it's expensive to make movies. It's expensive to make these contents, any form of that media that you want to consume, that you enjoy consuming. And if you don't appreciate the art that goes behind it, then I'm sorry, you're just a sourpuss. Like, grow up. I'm sorry. That's just annoying to me because I hate hearing people shit talk other people, even if they're like not great standards by any stretch. Because you know, some of those low budget horror movies, like anything that you see on Tubi TV, sometimes those are really like bad, like low budget movies. But you know what? You can tell if people put their heart and soul into it, and sometimes those bad movies are so bad that they're good. You know what I mean? And they're not always gonna be amazing stories. Sometimes they're campy and corny on purpose because they appeal to a fun audience, that people who like to enjoy those movies because they're bad, you know?
Yeah.
So just
I've seen
chill
movies like
out.
that.
I just don't understand people. It's so mind-boggling and it's frustrating to me to sit there and hear that. Especially this, you know, as fans of horror, it's not that serious. It's not that serious at all.
It was never that serious.
Never.
But I think a lot of it too also comes from money insecurity. I think we can all relate to that.
Yes.
You know, we don't want to spend our money and feel disappointed. So I completely understand that aspect of it. And I also understand wanting to express that and feel validated in it. But at the same time, it's like not, in my opinion, not everything has to be perfect. Sometimes you got to take the L, you know, and just be like, this was okay. Or this was a little disappointing. And just be like, that's how I felt.
Exactly.
That kind of sucks. But then turning it around and making it into an entitlement thing gets a little... It starts feeling a little pretentious.
It does.
Sometimes. Especially, at least from my perspective, where I see it all the time now.
Yes.
Especially from people our age. It's like no matter what, they feel entitled for everything to be absolutely perfect. And it's tiresome. It is tiresome.
Especially as in this age of like a lot of people... Especially with the pandemic, a lot of people were, you know, dabbling in different like hobbies and stuff, things that they've never had the chance to because they had all this time on their hands. And it's like everyone's bad at something the first time they try it. They're gonna be bad, and that's kind of part of it. You have to continue to do it to get better at it as you go. So it's like for people to just, like, if this is your first movie and like you're seeing all these terrible reviews and stuff, that'd be so disheartening, and it would make me almost want to quit. And I know that's like, you know.
No, I get it.
You know?
I really do. I mean, words do mean something.
And especially, I mean, I know you both are artistic as well, so you understand like what I'm about to say. We are our worst critics, and we already think that what we created is the worst thing ever a lot of the time. And then a lot of those times when we show people and we're like, they're like, oh my God, this is great. You're like, what? Really? Oh, okay, this is terrible. Like, I know myself, I talk myself down so much that I believe that I am not good at anything that I do. So when people validate that it's good, I'm like, whoa, what? Like, I have talent? You're telling me I have talent? It's shocking. And then when people shit talk it or they're like, that's not good, breaks my heart, breaks my fucking soul into a million pieces. And I'm like, I don't ever want to touch that again.
Well, I hope Bryce McGuire gets another shot at making another. Like I said, the movie made a bunch of money.
And hearing him talk about it, like you said, like he was
very passionate about it, and very proud of the work he did, and as well as the work, relationships he had with his actors and everything they accomplished.
Got all heated talking about that. Ugh.
I get it.
I'm for you, Bryce McGuire.
Yeah. That concludes our rant section of the podcast.
My soapbox is over.
Yeah. This movie did a few things for me. Okay. One, it made me really want to get a pool someday.
I love pools.
The pool looks so nice.
You
Doesn't
know,
the pool look so nice?
I would love to have a
It
pool.
has the lights around. It has like an upper little deck for like all the lawn chairs and
Love
stuff.
That is an expensive pool.
Yeah.
Was it? I want it.
That is
You know
like
what pool
tens
I
of thousands
want?
of dollars.
Even though I don't like her now, Kat Von D, she's still gorgeous. I will say that, but she's problematic in a lot of ways.
I love problematic people. That's why I do the podcast with you.
Well, I'm pretty sure she's like. So it went way over my head for a second. She has a beautiful pool. Oh my
yeah.
God, I would die for her pool. She had it painted red on
Cool.
and I think it's. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's shaped like a coffin.
So Frank, you want a pool, but you can't swim.
Well, it doesn't have to be 6.
Okay, so you want like a 4.5 foot pool.
Well, 6 feet sounds good to me.
You're not 6 foot tall.
I know, but I'm almost like it's too much. I can like jump, and I'd still be good. You know what I mean?
You can do that in 5 feet.
Yeah, I really want a pool. It looks really nice, and plus it looks like a great place to like host people at.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. I want to have a bunch of
She's
people
gonna
over.
host people for COVID parties.
Yeah, jump into my pool.
Gross. Especially, it makes you think of like, there's so many iconic movies that involve swimming pools as well. I think it's called Caddyshack. I think it's the movie I'm thinking of with the Baby Ruth bar. People think is a turd. They're like, it's a floater. And then this like guy cleaning the pool picks up the Baby Ruth bar and like eats it, and people will think he's eating a turd, but it's actually a Baby Ruth.
That is so Geraldine coded.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. It just is. That's so Geraldine vibes.
But I love like scenes with pools. They're just iconic. Yeah, it is the Caddyshack movie. Okay. Yeah.
So, I said earlier in the podcast that I had an honestly eerily similar experience to some of the events in this film.
Okay.
This is so funny.
And I just want to explain to you what happened.
Go for it.
So me and Bailey were at a hotel pool. I don't remember how long ago, a few years ago, right? And I was involved in an attempted drowning.
Okay.
Me and Bailey were staying at this hotel, and the hotel had a small pool. And after it was, I don't know, maybe
your average motel pool.
It was like the length of this room, basically.
Oh, okay. Was it like the max, like 5 foot or something deep?
No, I don't even know. It was quite deep. It was.
It had a regular.
About.
It had a regular section and like an 8 foot section.
Like maybe 30 even if you think about it. Well, after 20 years of not being able to swim, I had finally just learned, like I think a few months before.
Okay.
Bailey had taught me a little bit. So I was really excited to impress Bailey and to like show her my newfound skill of
show her your cool moves.
Yeah, at the pool, right? And everything was going fine at first.
Okay.
Right? But strangely, once we started to like crossing into like the deep end, really odd things started to happen.
Okay.
Suddenly, I was no longer able to keep my head above water. Like I had been perfectly fine the entire time.
Okay.
But something about like going into like the deep end, everything changed.
Okay.
It got deep.
And I sank to the bottom.
He did not.
Fear took a hold of me because some sort of entity was keeping me under. It was scary. I will admit it was
Were you wearing like heavy shoes? Like
No, I'm telling you, everything was perfectly fine while we were on the shallow side. Like literally no problems whatsoever. It wasn't until we crossed over to the deep end that something took a hold of me and I sank to the bottom. Now I was really scared at first, right? But luckily I didn't panic. And I knew this wasn't how my story was gonna end, right? So I just couldn't let it end like that. So all I did once I was I just relaxed.
Okay.
And I started meditating. And after I found
in the water.
Yes.
Under the water.
Yeah, that's what I did.
You were like under the water.
After I found my inner spirit, I was able to float back to the top with a little bit of assistance from Bailey.
Okay, can I talk about this story?
We've since never returned to that pool.
Okay.
Yeah, we've also
whatever
never
took a
been to
hold
that
of me
hotel.
must still be down there.
Okay. Can I explain what this looked like from my perspective?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I was maybe 6 inches from Frankie this entire time.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
we
I don't know
start.
why it targeted me either.
We start in the like regular section of the pool.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of kids there, so we start gravitating towards the deep end because that's where the kids naturally don't go most of the time.
True.
And we start going there, and Frankie's having a good time. He's able to float most of the time. You know, I'm right there with him, just in case anything happens. And you know, we get into the 6 foot section, which is where our feet no longer touch the ground.
Fair.
Right, just barely. We are right next to the wall. And I look at Frankie and I'm noticing, you know, sometimes I did this a lot as a kid when I went to the deep end. You know, it gets a little hard to keep your head above water.
Yeah.
And if you get a little anxious, you'll start kind of dipping down a little bit, and the water will hit your nose or whatever. I see that start happening to Frankie for like all of like 2 seconds, not even 2 seconds. And so I just go, "Are you okay?" And I like hold his elbow and like push him to the wall, and he's like, I was drowning. He's like, "You saved me," and I was like, "What?"
This is I don't know why Bailey always has this like this memory of like events that it doesn't.
I don't think
coincide
he
with
ever
mine.
went fully under. I don't.
I was drowning.
I'm not saying that you weren't drowning. I'm just
my
saying
lungs
that I
were
don't.
full of water.
So in your brain, in your head,
my
you
brain.
remember this as you being fully immersed under the like your feet were touching the ground. That's how you remember it.
for an extended period of time, just like in the film. Like
This all
genuinely-
happened in like 3
Genuinely, I
seconds.
think that's part of the reason I was so scared watching the movie, because I remembered like all the flashbacks of that experience was so much like those scenes in this movie.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
It doesn't sound like you're sorry.
It's just you said that I'm dramatic.
You are, yes.
This is a testament. I mean, you know, the same story told by 2 different people,
Yeah.
different endings. You know.
I feel like it's similar. So what do you give the movie, Geraldine? What letter grade do you give Night Swim?
A letter grade. You know, I wasn't wowed by it, so it's not A territory. I wasn't displeased by it, so it's not F territory. It's not D, it's not B. I would say it's somewhere in the middle range. I would go with a solid C. Not C+, not C-, just C.
Okay, you know what? I think I'll meet you there at a C.
I'm not-
I
like,
think
it's
this
not in
movie
a bad
exceeded
way.
my expectations.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for like the ending, I would have given it a B. But the ending didn't quite do it for me. But everything up until then, I really respect. And like I said, I was scared throughout a lot of the movie.
Again, like watching people in water, first of all, again, like some of these deep scenes where like you can see that they're in the deep spring and like bodies and stuff. That's terrifying to me because one, I have thalassophobia, like a motherfucker. So I'm terrified of anything under the water anyway. But also it plays on that childhood fear, like there's a shark in the water. So like you just think like, oh no, like this is actually the real.
This movie really plays to those fears.
It does, and it's fun. It's a cool, like, refreshing concept because you don't see a lot of that in horror movies, despite what critics might say. Anyway, I thought that it was really fun, and I think like my only like complaint was that we don't get to know the characters as much. So I would say the plot, even though like they only had like a certain amount of money to make with the movie and whatnot, like. I'm sure that's another reason why we don't get to know the characters as much because the primary like character in this movie is the pool. So we're trying to get to know the story as why this is happening to this family with the pool. So I mean, I understand why for that purpose, but it would be nice to have had a connection because again, when the dad died or like sacrificed himself in the pool and the kids were like, "Bye, Dad."
Yeah, it was strange.
That was like, oh, y'all are literally like.
It didn't land with me the way they were
Yeah.
trying to make it land.
So I agree like with what you guys are saying. Like it kind of would have been cooler if the family like had like a struggle with him. Like let's sacrifice Dad instead.
Or if it was like he came to his vices and let it control him, like his eagerness to return to baseball. Just
even like
took
that
too strong
sad
of a hold
ending,
of
like
him.
it taking his kid or something. That would have been also kind of cool, even though it would have been really sad to see. Just to see what would have happened if like the story continued on. I do like the very, very end where they're like, nah, fuck this pool. However, they're still gonna live there. Fuck that.
I would still live there and I would keep the pool there.
No.
It's
Why?
like the lady said that once a sacrifice is made, the waters will become calm again until the next person moves in.
Okay, but the mom had no wishes, she had no sacrifices, and she still had creepy stuff happen in the pool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but as you said, the waters crave a sacrifice. But once they got the sacrifice, it's cool now.
Yeah, but like, how would they know? And like when they're starving again for a sacrifice, you know what I mean?
They know the signs now. You know, when you see the lights start flickering a little bit, oh, now it's time to move away. But I would enjoy that pool as long as I could.
No, I agree with what they did. They're like, let's fill this pool. But it would be cool if they do end up making a franchise to see people be like, oh, what was here? And then like they like maybe dig up the pool, and then they're like,
I think it's fun.
this is a really good pool. Why would anyone throw it away? Bryce McGuire, hit me up. I'm gonna help you.
You got any final thoughts, Bailey, on the movie?
Yeah, like I said, it exceeded my expectations. The ending fell just a little bit flat. I really wish it didn't have the magical healing trope. It would be nice to have disabled characters and chronically ill characters that are strong while having their disability or chronic illness the entire movie instead of trying to get rid of it and killing their kid in the process. Yep. But, you know, having your disabled character ultimately kill themselves at the end of the movie is not a redeeming factor. If we're being real, right? That's not enough to redeem using the magical healing trope. But regardless, it exceeded my expectations. I had fun. I really loved Eve's character especially. She was great. She was awesome. Forefront runner in like women in horror movies, I think, for 2024 already. And yeah, I agree with you guys. A solid C.
Did you see? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to our first Dead End special of the year. The next one we're covering is Lisa Frankenstein.
That's our next Dead End special, and I'm super stoked because
Yeah, me
I
too.
love it. So it's going to be coming out around Valentine's Day. We're going to film it around then, but it won't be actually Valentine's Day when it's released. So just know that we'll be dressed up for Valentine's Day because it'll be fun.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
listening.
Bye.
New year, and I'm still bad at endings.
Yeah, you really are.
Bye. Maybe one day I'll get it.
Thank you for listening to Fright or Flight, a Live Oaks Village production. This episode was hosted by Geraldine Johnson and Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa. Editing and music composition by Saul Alberto Arizmendi Ochoa.